Hey everybody, Chris Quinones here from Rasayana, back with day 4 of Beat the Heat, the anti-inflammation bootcamp, where I'm breaking down each day a specific area in health or home where inflammation lurks and how chronic inflammation relates to autoimmune disease. I have been working in holistic healing as a licensed massage therapist, Ayurvedic health counselor and bodywork specialist, and yoga therapist for the last 15 years. And before that, I worked as a orthopedic technician and was and remain a competitive athlete. I like to compete with ballroom dancing and tennis, and I was a former martial artist as well, and really use my body a lot. And so I have really put together my life's work from my personal experiences. And this week is just an introduction to a little bit of some of the inspired ideas I have and want to share with you all. Now, last night, we talked about why being a night owl inflames the brain and some specific techniques and practices that the yogis use to get to bed by 10 o'clock and reduce, excuse me, reduce the risk for neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. And today we're going to be talking about the household. And what I'm going to talk about today really extends beyond the household and cleaners and products that we use in our homes, and really into pathogenesis of disease according to Ayurvedic medicine. And what are the causes of disease according to Ayurvedic medicine, and how we can make tweaks in our home or work environments to be in line with those principles and reduce our risk for disease. I mean, that's why we're all here, right? So I want to start off by acknowledging how much fear there's been with COVID and the need for sanitization. I work, like I said, as a full-time body worker and massage therapist, and there are additional protocols I've had to put into place, wearing gloves and face shields and changing my clothes many times throughout the day, and all kinds of other implementations in my office for people to feel safe and continue getting body work and being touched right now. And I also teach part-time. I teach massage professionals, or actually I should say students entering the massage profession. And there was a great deal of preparation and talk and concern around how we were going to maintain social distancing and a safe environment for the students, and how we were going to do that in a room full of people. And you know what, it was really interesting to me as someone who's been practicing and studying yoga and Ayurveda now for over 15 years, that the conversation has very much been germ theory here. And that is part of the landscape according to a holistic viewpoint, right? A holistic viewpoint would also consider what I like to call terrain theory, which is where we look at the environment in the setting. What is the environment that the organism is expected to live, work, and thrive in? And how does that organism use their faculties, i.e. the sense organs, the motor organs, to adapt to that environment or maladapt if that environment isn't beneficial? That's really what I'm talking about today. And I'm using household cleaners as the segue into it because it's an area of my life that only in the recent years I've become committed to evolving in. But I'm going to get ahead of myself. Let me backtrack a little bit and talk about why this idea of, or this myopic view of germ theory really doesn't serve us well. We definitely have become, even before COVID, in my opinion, pretty preoccupied with cleaning. We had so many antimicrobial soaps come out in the years past, decade past. Everything is processed, and a wipe or everything must be clean, I guess is what I'm getting at. This like preoccupation with germs and not touching any. When holistic medicine and Ayurveda recognizes that as an organism, we're not separate from our environment. And a lot of the microorganisms that are in the environment, when we're exposed to them, that helps build our immune system and strengthen it. And so if we're constantly disinfecting everything and constantly afraid of germs, then we're really only getting half of the picture. The other half is terrain and environment. What do we need to do to support that? So, in Ayurveda, there are 3 causes of disease in terms of pathogenesis. We've got a few different means. Let me see if I can actually share the right screen with you. Hold on a second. I have a nice little diagram I wanted to share with you there. Yeah, there we go. There it is. These 3 regions, they're really the causes of disease according to Ayurveda, is seasonal changes. I've already talked about that with regard to bedtime last night. And as a Homo sapien and human being, that we are not night creatures. We are not nocturnal beings, right? We're diurnal. And our circadian rhythm and our immune system, digestive system, all of it is synchronized to the presence or absence of light. And we were evolved to be organisms that live during the daytime. So when we're out of sync with that circadian rhythm, as well as when we're out of sync with the seasons, then that's a major factor and cause of disease, especially with eating foods that are not seasonal, where we're not getting those microorganisms and the microbes that were in the soil for those seasonal vegetables growing at that time that got taken up by the roots and shoots and leaves. So when you're eating out of season and when you're practicing habits out of season, according to those gunas and those 10 pairs of qualities I talked about the night before last, then you are in fact causing and initiating that vitiation of doshas and an imbalance, which ultimately leads to disease. Misuse of our intellect or wisdom, the mind, is another cause for disease. Yoga and Ayurveda, being Vedic systems, are really like no joke and no excuses either. And it's really about studying relationship and cause and effect. And you decide as the student how deep into the waters you want to tiptoe into self-observation and what choices you do make and how you use your wisdom. The 3rd cause of disease, according to Ayurvedic medicine, is misuse of the sense organs. And we've already talked about the sense organs being the eyes, ears, nose, skin. We've definitely used, misused, abused our sense organs, and that very much is a good segue toward the environment and our homes and workspaces, where over time we're exposed to these toxins that have become so commonplace, especially with our household cleaners, which is where I want to start today or tonight. 2 major components of most commercial cleaners that you should be concerned about are phthalates, as well as what are called quats. That's an acronym, Quats. It stands for Quaternary. Let's see if I can say this right and not butcher it. Quaternary quaternary, there we go, quaternary ammonium compounds. Quats and phthalates, no bueno, okay? Phthalates are well known to be endocrine disruptors. Phthalates are often components where fragrance is used or added to a particular product. I buy all of my products that I do still buy, fragrance-free, dye-free, including my detergent and the like, because I know that anything that's got fragrance added to it is likely inorganic and phthalates. And so these endocrine disruptors, as they've been shown to be, are also known to be carcinogens as well. So anything with fragrance in it, out the window. Use essential oils instead. And I'll tell you a little bit later tonight also, I'll get to homemade recipes for a general household cleaner. Quats, on the other hand, are labeled often on products that claim to be antimicrobial. And it's if you can believe it, I was shocked when I found this out. It's classified as a pesticide by the EPA. And quats, the problem with quats, other than they're being completely toxic and associated with an increased incidence of lung irritation and COPD, cardio obstructive pulmonary disease, it often leads to antibiotic resistance. It actually creates a very strong resistance to antibodies when you've been exposed to them over a long period of time. And quats are traditionally used in disinfectant wipes. So all of those Lysol wipes, I used to have like a bunch of them under my sink. You know, that you pull those lemon fragrance Lysol wipes. I used to use those all the time when I would bring my massage table to work at the Boston Marathon. And I would have my hands on 100 people that day, 100 runners. And we didn't put sheets on and off the massage table. We used those Lysol wipes in between to disinfect the table. And I think about that now and all the years that I've used those wipes and things like it. Products that are disinfectants, toilet bowl cleaners are other common commercial products that have quads in them. So you definitely want to be mindful of what you are bringing into your environment and what's coming through the sense organs, right? I mean, you could say, well, Chris, I wear rubber gloves. I'm not touching any of this material when I'm working with it. But the reality is you're also inhaling the vapors, and those chemicals, they linger. You know, they just do. And if they're in your laundry detergent, then they're in your clothes and fabrics and sheets, and your skin is rubbing up against them. And over time, for those that may have a compromised immune system already, it can cause a lot of problems. And even for those that don't have immune challenges, but are healthy adults that suddenly have a tumor, and yet their lifestyle would not indicate that they were anywhere at risk for something like that. Yet when they change their household cleaners to all natural products, within 12 months, the tumor's gone. I mean, these are case studies that I've read. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming that, you know, essential oils is going to cure cancer. So that's not where I'm going with this, but know that it's really hard to know what's in the products these days, commercial products. So your best bet is just to make your own. Because when you look at the labels of a lot of cleaning products, you won't always recognize quats as quaternary ammonium blah, 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 ammonium compounds, right? They'll go by different names. It's much like reading food labels these days where, you know, it's difficult to know exactly what's in it. And here are all different names of quats that are commonly used in these disinfectants. And so you'll find, if you see any of these names on the label, you definitely do not want to be using it. And I'll include this with the replay as well, so you all can have this handy to reference. But I will say that if you just make your own, it's so much better. And yes, it really is effective. A lot of times, you know, I think homemade cleaners can get a bad rap as being ineffective, but it's not true, because the truth is we don't need everything to be sterilized in our environment. In fact, that does not serve us well. We want exposure to the terrain. We want our immune systems to recognize more and more parts of the environment so that it doesn't confuse it with being a foreign invader, if you will, or eliciting this overreactivity of the immune system, which often happens. And, you know, the thing about autoimmune disease, guys, is that someone who is diagnosed with one autoimmune condition, 30% of them will develop a second autoimmune condition, and often a much more serious one. So it never really ends unless you get to the cause of the cause of the cause of the cause. Get to the source of the problem. And that is what Ayurveda really hones in on, because it's not just to cure the sick person, but also to keep the healthy person healthy, and to have a long life, a long, juicy life, right? That's full of vitality and awareness and joy and dharma, our productivity or our contribution in this lifetime. So to make a homemade general cleaner, all you're going to need are 2 cups of water. You need an empty spray bottle, 2 cups of water, a 1/4 cup of vinegar. I use just plain white vinegar, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, and about 10 to 15 drops of tea tree essential oil. Tea tree essential oil in particular is a very good antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral. So it's wonderful to use, especially for cleaning products. Especially in humid places like the bathroom, where mold tends to accumulate. And if you have mold in your drywall, then you're done. You can't just scrub that out. You actually, to get rid of mold, you have to replace the drywall. So it's no bueno. But tea tree oil is a great substance for the bathroom and in general for the whole house. Now, if tea tree oil is not your jam, and the fragrance, or the odor, I should say, of it is maybe a little too earthy for you, use other essential oils. I like to use lemon and orange, or other ones. I use lemon and orange are my go-tos, actually, I'll say, other than the tea tree oil. But if you take these ingredients, put them all together in a spray bottle, shake it up, you can use that on virtually everything, from bathroom surfaces to your toilet bowl, to your kitchen counters, as a glass cleaner. I use it to clean out my microwave, which I rarely use anymore. It's funny, I still have it, because I probably use it about twice a year. But homemade solution, absolutely to make. Now, other than homemade cleaning products, there are other sections of your home that you may want to inspect, especially if you're a homeowner. Where, you know, I rent, so I don't really have the luxury of, you know, replacing my drywall on my own. But I will say that if you are a homeowner, or just in general, these are places you want to be looking around. Homeowner or not, forget I even mentioned that, because it's your home. And if you're living in it, then you need to address it and get to the source of what is and can be chronic inflammation and disease. So, sorry, I get all excited and revved up. So a couple of things. One is air quality, right? We certainly are hyper aware of our air quality right now amidst the pandemic of 2020. So HEPA air filters are wonderful additions to your home or office space. They will average between $300 to $600 depending on the square footage of the room that you would like the air to be filtered. And you know, I bought like a $200 or $300 one for my treatment office, and that turns over the air in my room, which is a little over 100 square feet, fully recycles the air in 15 minutes. And so it's a wonderful addition, and I really have sensed a difference in the air quality. So a HEPA air filter for your space, also maybe for your vacuums, if you have carpeting in your home. Which also in general, I do recommend if you're able to pull carpeting out of your homes. People, you just don't need it. You really don't. You're better off with throw rugs than wall-to-wall carpeting, which tend to also have a lot of glues and toxic materials that were used to lay it down. And certainly talk to anybody who has allergies knows that living in a home with hardwood floors is a lot easier on their respiratory system than living in a home with carpets. So replace the carpets or use throw rugs if that's an option and you really want cushy cozy under your feet. If you are if you use gas-fired cooking in your kitchens, some of the stoves, some of the newer, well, the newer models don't require a pilot flame. Older models of stoves do, where that like little flame is just constantly burning. And over time, you know, that's emitting carbon monoxide. So it's good for you if you do have a gas stove or you use gas in your home to have a carbon monoxide detector, and to make sure that the model of your stove is a more modern one. I wish I had a year to give you a recommendation for. I'm sorry that I don't. But I know that, you know, if you see that pilot light, then it's probably one that is outdated, because you shouldn't need to have a constant going pilot light anymore. So there's something about the new stoves that don't require that exposure to the monoxide over time. You want to inspect your pipes, right, in the sinks, underneath the kitchen sink, underneath the bathroom sink in particular, looking for leaks, looking for mold. Like I said, mold is definitely not something you can scrub out of drywall. So trust me, I've tried several times. And unfortunately, I have a bit of mold in my home. So I am very mindful about using some products to directly treat the areas, spot treat it, and add some excess ventilation to my bathroom when I bathe and shower so it doesn't get too humid in there, and really use my practices to keep me in tip-top respiratory health. My practices like pranayama and getting to bed by 10 o'clock. So inspecting those pipes as well. Same goes for your furnace in terms of pilot lights, making sure that you've got scheduled maintenance there. There's a lot of products now used in your furniture, your mattresses, in your car and the like, all this off-gassing that is happening. So really the best thing is obviously not to even bring these toxins into the home, right? So it's making your own cleaning products, it's buying mindfully as a consumer and understanding where these materials are sourced and what their longevity is. Is this thing going to be hanging around for the next 100 years that you're going to be living with? You may want to give that some consideration. And it extends beyond our appliances and cleaning products and goes really into our cosmetics that we wear, our deodorant, our shampoo, the entertainment that we watch and feed the eyes. the sounds or gossip or hate that our ears hear, all these kinds of pieces of information, right? It's coming into the mind body through the sense organs, which is why Ayurveda and the yogis emphasize care of the sense organs on a daily basis as part of an Ayurveda practice, because they're the gateways to consciousness. They're where we take in our impressions of the world around us and how we relate to it and how we respond to it. And if we don't have healthy sense organs, then we have what the yogis call avidya, this cloud or film or kind of veil of reality, and we're not seeing clearly. And so when we're able to see clearly and know better, we do better, right? And that involves getting our rest, nourishing with the right foods, making sure we limit our exposure to heavy metals and toxins and harsh cleaning products and off-gassing of the products that we use. And what we put on our skin, especially, remember the skin is the largest sense organ of the body. And the skin does not have a built-in filter system like the respiratory system does, like the circulatory system does, like the digestive system does, right? Whatever you put onto your skin is going directly into the bloodstream, is going directly into your cells. And depending on the product, arguably into the part of our cells where DNA lives. I'm thinking specifically about sunscreen being the end of the summer season here where I'm recording this now. And yeah, natural sunscreens are much better. They're non-nanoparticles, meaning these particles are not so small that they'll penetrate into the cell walls where this critical genetic information is. We definitely don't want things absorbing in that house, right? So being mindful of the products that you put on your skin and really limiting them. You know, daily oiling of the skin is an Ayurvedic practice, and massaging the skin allows for that circulation of lymph and plasma and waste product and prana. So when we're massaging the skin with oil, we're not only feeding it, but we're protecting it. We're putting a very natural antimicrobial, antibacterial right on our skin. And oil has a pulling property, and so it will pull toxins out of the body. So it's a really wonderful substance, and why Ayurveda uses oil and fats and lipids so much to deliver the medicine, because the skin is made of lipids. And so any medicine that we put on the skin that is part of a lipid, a fat, and oil will be easily digested by the skin and absorbed into the body. So I mentioned deodorants, cosmetics, sunscreen, shampoos, detergent. These are all certainly factors. And I think you'll find too that if you study Ayurveda and you practice Ayurveda, as you continue down the years, months, decades of repetition and practice, you might find that you're able to really get a good sense of where your weak points are, right? And also where you no longer need the things you thought you needed, right? So things fall away, bad habits start to fall away, and patterns tend to get broken with the new habits that Ayurveda recommends. And it's that friction that we call tapas, it's heat, that is produced by the old habits rubbing up against the new habits. and thereby transforming us through that power of fire element into something new. And if we aren't willing to be someone other than who we've been, we're not going to get the change and the results that we're looking for, be it in our health, in our families and relationships, or in our life. And so over time, as you keep implementing more and more of these kinds of techniques and lifestyle tips, as you keep calibrating your own biorhythm with that of the natural world around you, the stronger your immune system will be. And I found that I didn't need deodorant anymore, because I didn't smell anymore when I sweat. And I didn't want antiperspirant to keep my body from naturally evacuating waste, which is what sweat is supposed to do, right? Sweat, urine, and stool. Those are the three main waste products of the body. And if those aren't flowing out of the body on a daily basis, then you've got that buildup of AMA. And by taking good care, I think you may find that you'll need less and less product, less and less supplements, and just the art of living in rhythm with the universe around you and the planets and the stardust that created you, the divine intelligence that created you, really. So I'm going to stop there. I will include also the video that I promised at the beginning of this series, which is how to do a self-lymphatic massage at home in 3 key areas of lymphatic congestion and where inflammation tends to go awry. So that will be coming up. And be sure to tune in tomorrow, where I'm going to talk about another major detox organ, the liver, and why liver and gallbladder surgery has become the #1 elective surgery in the United States, and why that's a problem, and why we have more incidences of fatty liver disease when that person isn't drinking or eating foods that would lead to that. So liver, we're going to talk about it. It's one of my cavagunas, one of my vulnerable spots in my health history, and I'll share more about that story with you tomorrow night. See you then.